Hi, it's Sean. Join me for a drink over at the Winchester. No, it's Brian. This is another Lane's Logs in our series as we're moving forward in our class, The Zombie as a Rhetorical Figure. I just want to give a couple of notes for things. First off, I've got a really big announcement that I want to talk with everyone about. We asked last week for a survey of some feedback of things that are going on. A lot of the comments had to do with the difficulty for different platforms, and I hear you, and I've been talking with folks also that have had some difficulty, and it seems like most of it revolves around Packback because it's a weekly grade that goes into the assignment pool. Let's do this. We're going to make some changes, okay? First change we're going to make is we're changing the evaluation percentage point of Packback. It was 10% originally. Now we're going to reduce that down to 5%. We'll move the other 5% back into the discussion boards because it seems everybody's enjoying those. We had a great time last week talking about fast versus slow zombies. The second thing I'm going to do is we'll calculate the Packback scores and drop the lowest. So if you had one week that wasn't great, don't worry about it. It'll go away. It'll completely go away. And then the third thing I'm going to do is this is the last week of our Packback questions. All right, anything after that, we'll just have to use the discussion threads on Canvas. This is the last time we're going to use that platform to see how things are working. That's my big announcement. I'm hoping that will help people as they're moving forward with their grades and everything. Really, it is about keeping up and doing all the stuff together. I'm hoping that that will alleviate some of folks' concerns as we head into the last part. Remember, we're past the midterm now. We're into the very closing portion of the semester. Let me also talk about the discussion threads. Loved those videos about fast and slow moving zombies. Very nice. And we got one coming up. As I said, we're headed into the romantic and comedy zombie. It's a different genre altogether. We're no longer even talking about horror, to be honest. We're talking about humor. I'm going to love to get your reactions to the discussion polls. Make sure you check in on Canvas. I've got a question I'm going to ask there that has to do with some different viewings that are going on during the week. Love to get your feedback on it. There's a lot of different options that you can do there. This idea of the romantic or the comic zombie, it actually goes back a long, long way. If you remember in our very first unit on the Haitian zombie, one of the optional viewings there was a movie called King of the Zombies, which is actually a zombie comedy. And many of you that tuned in for our viewing night, we saw The Return of the Living Dead, also a comic film. So this has a very, very long history. It's not something that just comes about recently. But the question for us is we've been trying to figure out how the zombie functions in our society as a figure of horror. And so obviously the question is, what if it changes to a figure of comedy? And what are the things that we need to look for in that? Now, last week we were getting pretty firm on our axioms, and just as a reminder, in week 1 we said that the zombie is always raced, it is always has a gender, it always has a nationality, it's got a background, a baggage that it is carrying around, if you will. The second thing we said is that these are all stories that are themselves about the present. They are things that are going on right now. It's not science fiction. We're not talking about the future. We're not talking about the past, all those sorts of things. And we said third axiom was that really the horror, the threat is the other survivors. It's a long-running theme in all the zombie movies that more people get killed by humans than get killed by zombies. You can check for yourself, but this seems to be the way that it's going. It's a little different in comedies, but still the biggest threat is to our survivor community. And we also said the zombie can be anything. Now let me add a fifth axiom here this week as we move into the comic zombie, and that is that zombies themselves are allegories. That is, they are representational metaphors for things that are going on in society. So as we watch these comedy films, you might think, hey, is this an allegory for what is facing us as an entire society, not just about one particular group or one particular cast set? Think about that as we head into this last series of our own things, axioms that we're headed to. Now, I also want to talk about the Survivor's Blog. Love the way. Now, notice the movement. Okay, we started off with what is a zombie, then we were like, describe your survivor group, then we've got, hey, what about other survivor groups? That's what we're moving into, that's due tomorrow night. The next survivor's block, I want to give you a heads up, is a little bit different. The fourth one is called threats, and for threats, it's about using our theories to diagnose what's going on around us. So it's a little bit different. It's not exactly the same as, hey, we're in this situation and there are people in our group and there are people outside of our group. It's more about the things that at large that we are trying to understand in our society and how we use the zombie as a figure to understand them. A great example of this is COVID. I linked an article on Canvas there. When COVID first happened, the very first thing they said is it's like the zombie apocalypse, because we use that as a way to understand the real threats that are around us. So this next blog is going to be just a little bit different. So I would say, hey, try and think about that as it's heading in there. Now, what's coming next? As I said, the comic zombie, we're going into full form. We did change the things. So you got some optional viewings. You got some optional readings in there. The question is, how does this change things for us? I'm really interested in how you're going to go through and digest all of the stuff on comedy. See what I did there? And looking forward to your responses on the discussion post. We're almost at the end of the course. We're headed into week 4. We've only got 2 more weeks left, so stay alive, zombie hunters. Keep doing what you're doing.